Continue to unpack the budget speech from last week, but more at a provincial level now, what it means for those residents in Johannesburg. It's an election year. The political battle is about to be on, if it hasn't started already. Earlier this week, the Democratic Alliance, or the DA, voting against an African National Congress coalition budget for Johannesburg. It says the budget will increase financial pressure on residents and also decrease delivery. DA shadow MMC of Finance, Patrick Atkinson of the Democratic Alliance, joining us. Mr. Atkinson, good morning to you. Thanks for your time in speaking to us. So let's just understand the ongoing issue, something that I know the DA fights very hard for in South Africa: lack of delivery. There is money, but it's not being spent well enough. So how do you see what we saw in the budget speech the last few days? Is anything going to change, or are residents still not going to get the delivery that they deserve?
Gareth, I think the really important thing here, and what Johannesburg really needs to take cognizance of, is the incredible economic effect that COVID has had on city residents. And we see the finance minister taking note of this in the national budget, where everyone was expecting him to implement tax increases to make up for major tax shortfalls because of the COVID pandemic lockdown. But in the end, he actually didn't increase any personal taxes, and in fact increased the ban. So he gave a small amount of relief to taxpayers, which was the right thing to do at this time because of the effects of the COVID pandemic. But what we see is this budget from the city of Johannesburg is actually an adjustment budget. It's not the annual budget, but once a year the city has the opportunity to be able to adjust the budget to basically make up for any shortfalls that might happen. But our concern about this is the fact that there's an original operating budget of about 69 million, and they wanted to add about an extra 450 million to it. But mostly for staff expenses. There's about an extra 300 million for staff expenses. And this is at a time when Johannesburg has really only been running on about a third capacity. So at a point where you only have a third of your staff in the offices, you then want to go and increase your head count. And we believe that the 300 million should have been put aside for rates relief. So rather like on the national government, where they took care of our citizens by trying not to increase taxes, I think the same attitude should have been taken in the city of Johannesburg.
There are those, Mr. Atkinson, forgive me, sorry, there are those that are going to argue, though, that by bringing in the extra budget for more staff, the headcount that you're referring to, is going to increase the services available to residents of Johannesburg. I think many will agree with you, but what about those who are criticising the argument that by getting more staff, the service delivery will actually be better?
Well, the thing is, we already have a lot of staff who are actually just not working at all. So, why not rather make those staff work? We're in a situation where the headcounts of Johannesburg, literally only 1/3 of the staff are actually working. So, why are we not making savings there? And why are we not actually getting existing staff to do the work they should be doing? And that's one of the reasons why we're seeing a fall in service delivery across the city. So we're saying, at a time when effectively only a third of the staff are in offices, how can you go and employ more people?
So this extra budget that has been proposed to put forward as the DA, Mr. Atkinson, where would you put that money? I speak, I think, for many people living in Johannesburg, without a doubt, the one biggest issue, apart from the robots not working most of the time, is the roads in Johannesburg as well. I'm not speaking for Johannesburg residents, but where would you put that extra money if it was granted for services?
Well, certainly in upgrading infrastructure, because we have, as you rightly said, huge problems with potholes and with traffic lights. But the other issue, and particularly in the southern parts of Johannesburg, where we've seen huge increases in population as of late, is that the electrical and water infrastructure can't deal with the influx of people there. And people in the southern part of Johannesburg, in Lenasia and southern Soweto and Innerdale, Eldorado Park, are suffering constant breaks in electricity, water outages, because the system itself is actually just breaking down. So I would spend money on upgrading the infrastructure. But the reality is, what we believe is, at the moment, we should be looking to take whatever savings we can make and take them over into next year's budget and make sure that we keep rates increases down. So we already have quite high levels of rates and taxes in Johannesburg. So let's see what we can do about keeping the increases as low as possible.
And I appreciate your time in speaking to us this morning. Mr. Patrick Atkinson, City of Joburg, MMC Finance for the Democratic Alliance.